I always get a poll asking if X character archetype is real, and I have not heard of a single one of those characters. Yeah, that do be how it be. That do be how it be. That do be how it be. That makes me giggle every single time. Valid. The Oifi archetype is not real. I do agree. I do agree. Natalist moment. The results have been interesting. I'm surprised that most people voted yes on White Wing. I'm not surprised that most people said yes on Gotoh, because my video disproving the Gotoh archetype hasn't come out yet. But you will all feel like fools. You will all feel like fools when my Gotoh video comes out, and I definitively prove you're wrong. I just made a thread on Serenus Forest complaining about Sacred Stones' lack of a Gotoh. You should expand that to every single game in the franchise, except for Fire Emblem 7. FE5, 6, and 7 have a Gotoh, and even Fire Emblem 9. 5 and 7 do. 6 and 9 do not. 6 and 9 do not. I'm sorry. Maybe on easy and normal you could consider it for 9, but on hard mode, abso-fucking-lutely not. I don't know how many times I have to have the Laguz Royal rant, but never mind. She fucking beat Wolf. Wolfie VGC in shambles. So in hard and lunatic mode of Fire Emblem 9, you do not get the Laguz Royals until after you kill the final boss, because you have to kill Ashnard twice. But the thing is, the difference between his phases... is literally just 10 HP, right? So... you don't get the Laguz Royals. You don't get the Laguz Royals until after you've already proven you don't need them. If the main point of a Gotoh is to be like the soft lock breaker, right? Which I think it is. I think that's the general idea. If we look at like how Gotohs are applied in ROM hacks, then he can't do his job. He can't break the soft lock. You only get him once you prove you don't need him. And even then, he can't he's like, you're gonna have to sandbag yourself to reach the, like, to have him even reach the final boss to help. Because you'll usually just kill Ashnard without his help. Whichever royal you pick being his. As for 6... I do not think Karel is a Gotoh. I think I mean, first off, you can't get Karel without, Carla or Bartray, right? But also, he doesn't have, like, good stats for his join time. The big thing Karel does is he wields an S-rank sword, but you probably have an S-rank sword user because you get Durandal soonest, and swords are not only the best weapon in the game, but the most common weapon for a unit to be able to use in the game. So it's not like someone like Athos, where you get handed a really, really high-stated magic user. Like, Karel does not have good stats compared to the rest of your army trained up. And his growths are there as a joke. Because you can only use them for one level, right? Like, the joke is this guy who you have to feed a bunch of kills because leveling up a level 19 unit takes a lot of experience. Karel's got decent stats for the time and high weapon ranks. That's a Gotoh. I think if you're outclassed by the majority of the army and you're an optional character who you can only unlock if you trained up Fear or recruited Bartray, who's missable due to the route split, that's not a Gotoh. I think that being a, like, secret optional character tied to some other characters' plot story stuff is disqualifying on its own. But I think even beyond that, he is, doesn't Yoder fulfill Gotoh more than Karel? That's the other thing. I was gonna say Yoder is probably closer, but I really don't think, again, like, his purpose is not to be an anti-soft lock. Karel comes after the final boss, only for the bad ending, or for the good ending. You can that was what I was gonna bring up, though, is that you can only get Karel if you're going for the good ending, right? Most first-time players are not gonna get the good ending just because it's, like, hidden, right? So for most players, like, if the Gotoh is meant to be the anti-soft lock, it just being something that doesn't get given to you, for most players, I think is not worthwhile. People just take the last unit to join in any FE game and call them Gotoh. But that's the thing! Someone has to be the last unit because these games have an ending, right? Like, that's my problem, is... So, obviously, Karel has higher bases than the units who joined 10 chapters ago, right? Because that's how the game design works, is the later a unit joins, the higher their bases are going to be. So, whoever is the last unit to join is probably going to have the highest bases of all the recruitable units. But that's just because that's how the game design works. He has nearly capped stats. No he doesn't. No he doesn't. FE6 Karel. Okay, I'm pulling this shit up. I'm pulling this shit up. These stats are awful! Holy shit, these stats are awful! These are laughably bad. For joining on the final map, these are laughably bad stats. People cope on him because of his fucking growths. Like, the wiki definition is coping him so hard because it says high bases or high growths. Fuck off. We're doing the Astrid again. We're doing the Astrid again. These stats are really bad. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. 20 attack on the final map of the game? Are you kidding me? 18 luck, 15 defense, 13 resistance. The only stats I would say are good is 28 skill, and then 23 speed is passable for that point in the game. This is gonna be an Ice Rider video? Absolutely, absolutely. I need to dispel this Karel conspiracy once and for all. There is only one thing about Karel that is, like, quote-unquote Gotoh worthy, and that is the S-rank swords. But again, you definitely have multiple S-rank sword users by now. His one level goes crazy because it's a meme. They made a joke character. The joke is, look at how high these growths are. You don't get to use them. Like, that's the joke. That's the joke. He's a funny haha joke. That's not as bad as I expected. That's unpromoted stats. The only two stats that you could not have as an unpromoted unit are skill and speed. Everything else is below the unpromoted caps. 13 resistance is more than half of your units. What are you gonna use it against? The 5 druids on that map? There's 5 enemies where it matters. This is like Gareth's defense stat in Radiant Dawn. He has good accuracy, which is the most important. But everyone with swords has good accuracy! Everyone with swords has good accuracy! He has good accuracy because he uses swords! 44 HP and 20 strength on an unpromoted unit would be absurd. On the final map of the game? On the final map of the game? This fucker joins on the final map of the game! And you're saying these are good stats? I'm losing my mind. This is an Ice Rider. Absolutely. Say hi to the Ice Riders. Everyone in chat, say hi to the Ice Riders. The more I look at this unit, he sucks so much ass. Gotoh has 11 magic. Gotoh isn't the fucking Gotoh, though. Gotoh isn't a fucking Gotoh because it's a fake archetype.
They looked at Athos. They were like, Athos is really cool. They were like, Athos is really cool. What if we named him after a fucking FE1 character and said it was an archetype? It's the same fucking bullshit that they did with every single FE7 unit. Gotoh is not a Gotoh. He can't damage the final boss. He can't damage half the enemies on the map. Instant promoted Gonzalez has more strength and HP than Karel. Exactly. Thank you. Someone. Gotoh is not a Gotoh. And that's how you know it's a fake fucking archetype. The only units that I would say definitively fit in the Gotoh archetype are Galzis, Sed from Fire Emblem 5, and Athos. The Laguz Royals in Radiant Dawn with an asterisk. The Laguz Royals in Radiant and Path of Radiance with 2 asterisks. And Basilio and Flavia with 3 asterisks. You could potentially, maybe, sort of argue fit into the Gotoh archetype. But like, I would say not really to any of them, TBH, because it's a fake fucking archetype. And here's why it's a fake archetype. Because in most games, in most mainline games, in ROM hacks, it is absolutely a thing. And I think that's because Athos is one of the few good design elements that Fire Emblem 7 actually included. Conquest Birthright is... Do we have to pull up another picture? We have to pull up another picture. Conquest Birthright Izana. Okay. Why would you consider Izana a Gotoh? I don't. I guess you're talking to the chatter. Look at this. 24 magic. That's cool until you remember this is Fates. Like, that's actually not that impressive for his join time. 31 HP and 14 defense. Bro gets fucking one-rounded by the shitty-ass Conquest enemies. Because remember, Conquest enemies do not have very impressive stats. Like, it's the skills and enemy formations that make them good. This guy is a utility unit that you get near the end of the game. And it's a good utility unit. Rally Magic and Rally Luck are really hard to get in Conquest. Also, he's not even a late joiner in Birthright. The final unit you get in Birthright is Yukimura. Which, like, at this point, we're just trying to find units to fit into the archetype, right? If you decide the archetype is real and work backwards from there, then again, we run into the same problem of these bases are better than the units who join in, like, Chapter 8 of Birthright, but that's just because, as a general design principle, the later a unit joins, the higher you want their bases to be, right? I do think Yukimura should always get deployed once you have him, because these are really good, stats for like, a filler combat role, right? They're not good for the join time, but they're like filler, right?
Here we go.
You've convinced me Gotoh doesn't exist. Who is he? Gotoh is just a fake unit made up to sell big archetype.
Gotoh is just a fake unit made up to sell big archetype. Thank you for the $5 donation, Thomas Kwok. Unfortunately, Yukimura fucking cockblocked you, so I'm gonna play it again. Because I've accidentally put Yukimura on top of the alert box. Seth is the Gotoh. What about Flavia and Basilia? I think that they can fit with an asterisk. The reason that I say they can fit with an asterisk is they are on Lunatic mode, one of the freer ways to kill Grima. But you still need to train them up for that role, right? You need to get Luna, you need to reclass them a few times, you need to get the B support. So like, and you know, their stats are not great for any job other than killing Grima as well. They can do filler combat. That's the other thing, is like, oftentimes it'll be, okay, this unit has good stats for the late game, so we can do like filler combat. But like, that's not what Athos is doing, right? When people talk about Gotoh being the anti-soft lock, Athos is like, I lost 5 units on Victory or Death, and I have no one good left. But Athos can basically solo the final map, if I'm good enough, right? There is no other unit except for the Radiant Dawn Royals, which there's multiple of them combined, they can do what Athos does. You are not beating the spot pass maps without a good team that doesn't need them, especially Priam. I have not played the spot pass maps, so I don't know. The only two archetypes, in my opinion, that are real are Christmas Calves and Jagan. And I think those would probably be the most concrete ones. Whether they're the only ones or not, like, that's gonna come down to opinion. Those are definitely the most concrete ones. I can see arguments for other ones, though, you know? But yeah, that's the fucking Gotoh Crashout. Like I said, y'all will be embarrassed once... Because I am eventually gonna do, like, an actual long-form video on Gotohs, kind of like the Oifi one. Danny has not played the spot pass map. She doesn't know ever it is the Gotoh Awakening! Y'all, no! Stop it! It's not fair! It's not fair! I long for the long-form Gotoh video. Yeah, because, like, the Crashout video, I mean, it's gonna be entertaining, right? I love fucking Great Shield. I mean, maybe it's entertaining. Maybe I'm overestimating my own fucking entertainment. I think it's funny to watch streamer lose minds. But what do you think, chat? Comment below and make sure to like and subscribe. The Book of Naga is FE4's Gotoh. So that's what I wanted to say, actually, though. No, so I know you're joking. But that's actually what I wanted to say, is that most often, the way that, Fire Emblem has you... Most often, the way that Fire Emblem has you, like, beat the final boss isn't to give you a super unit, but to give your lord or some other main character a weapon that is super good against them, right? The Mercurius in FE1. If you want to call it an archetype, the Mercurius archetype, you know, if you want to be, like, wiki-brained, right? But, like, the Mercurius in FE1 is the way that you're supposed to beat the Dark Dragon. In FE2, it's also Mercurius. In FE3, it's also Mercurius. In FE4, you get Naga, right? In FE5, you get the sword, the Blagi sword. In FE6, you get the Binding Blade, that one-round Zaidun. That's what makes Roy one-round Zaidun. In FE7, Athos is the real way to kill the Fire Dragon, but they give you a weapon for each of your lords. The Soul Kadi, the Armads, and the Durandal. In FE8, Sigland and Sigfrid. In FE9, Ragnar. In FE10, Ragnar. In FE11, it's Mercurius again. In FE12, it's Mercurius again. In Awakening, you don't get a weapon. Awakening is the first game where your lord does not get a weapon that is specifically meant for... Yeah, Falchion. Sorry, Falchion, not Mercurius. Fucking fake fan right here. This is why the big long form video is like gonna better tell my point. Rajinto, not Rajinto, Yato. And specifically the Alpha and Omega Yatos, the Shadow Yato, the upgrades. You get an upgrade to the Yato on the final map of all 3 routes. And the final map Yato is able to break through Dragon Skin. You get the Omega Yato to break Anamkos' Dragon Skin. You get the Shadow Yato to break... Well, no, he doesn't have Dragon Skin, but it's good against fucking Takumi anyway. And you get the Light Yato, Blazing Yato to break through Garen's Dragon Skin, right? All of the final Yatos break Dragon Skin, only 75, not 50, right? So like that's what that is. In Fire Emblem 3 Houses, you don't really get one. And not really anything for that. It's the same as Awakening. But then in Engage, I would argue that in Engage, the fact that only Emblem Alir is able to deal effective damage to Sombron is, again, sort of like a Mercurius situation, where it's because this is the thing that got given to the Lord that's supposed to be super good against the final boss. And so in almost every Fire Emblem game, in all of them except for Awakening and Three Houses, it's not a unit who joins up last minute that is the intent. Like, you know, you can argue in 11 and in 11 it's not, like, you don't use the Falchion to kill him, right? But that's the intention. The intention is to use the Falchion, but they didn't playtest the fucking game. But the dev intended, or at least, you know, what the devs seem to intend, solution for all of these is not a super unit, but a super weapon, and specifically a super weapon that gets given to the main character. Heck, even Tearfing could kind of be. Like, I think Naga is what it actually is supposed to be, because Naga, like, negates the power of Loptis, but Tearfing gives you a lot of res, right? And you get that last minute as well. The Gotoh archetype is real, but it is not limited to a unit. Why are we naming it after a fucking chump who joins in the final map? It's not real. Gotoh's not real. If you want to fucking call it an archetype, it's the Mercurius archetype. But also stop being so archetype-brained. You need Starlight to kill Garnef to get Falchion, so Gotoh stays winning. Linda stays winning. That's the Linde archetype. The Falchion archetype. I mean, I put that out in the world, that fucking cursed knowledge out in the world. But I'd rather people call it the Falchion archetype than the Gotoh archetype, because he's such a fraud. He's such a fucking fraud. How did archetypes get named Gotoh and Est when they don't fit their own descriptions? It's very simple. The people who made the archetypes thought they sounded more legitimate if they were named after a unit from an older Fire Emblem. That's also why... So, the origin of the Oifi archetype is... People wanted to say that Jagans were bad and you shouldn't use them, but they couldn't... Like, they had to admit that Seth and Titania were good enough to use. So they had to come up with a different archetype that, like, that's Jagan but scales well, right? And so they looked backwards and they were like, Oifi has good growths, it must be him, right? And, like, without looking at context, people who didn't play FE4 just said, like, that's the Oifi archetype now. Gotoh exposed by drama tuber Danny Doyle. First I came for Rinka, now I come for Gotoh. I came for Soleil as well, didn't I? I've done a lot of drama thumbnails. I think the drama thumbnails are funny, like, I won't lie. The fucking throwing a Meet the Heroes art up on screen and just the censor bar over them, I think that's the funniest shit. I am full of myself. I sniff my own farts. I think it's funny. It's Gotover. I would argue even units like FE7 Marcus are pretty good. I mean, that's the counter argument, right? Like, that's... in my Oifi video, that was the sort of argument that I made, is that, like, even the units that, like, fall off, and I would argue Marcus also isn't one that falls off, but at the time they made the Oifi archetype, he was considered bad, right? But I would say, even the ones who, like, fall off to an extent, are still worth using. And, like, even in the mid and late game, they sort of scale well. Like, Jagan himself does not scale well growths-wise, but because of the rarity of promotion items, oftentimes you just don't have people better than him to deploy anyway. The crit archetype is just swordmasters and axes. Est has high growths. I would say FE1 Est, even though I'm the person who sort of, like, used that Est is not an Est talking point. I've come around on that. I think FE1 Est does actually kind of fit the definition. As much as a unit from FE1 can, right?